Hi there, cadets. Today we're going to talk about the assembly and hand position of a saxophone. I will be using an alto saxophone, but the rules are pretty similar for all saxophones. So just follow along with whatever instrument you're playing. First things first, make sure your case is on the table or the floor next to you. Don't put it on your lap, and make sure that the latches are facing up. So they can have anywhere from usually 2 or 3. I have 3 on mine. First thing, take your neck strap out. Put that around your neck, and you want to make sure that it's not all twisted up here, because that can cause some trouble and it makes it very difficult to adjust. So you want it mostly untwisted. Mine's a little backwards, but alright, that'll function. Okay, next step. You need to take a reed out of your case, and hopefully you have something kind of like this or like this. We want to avoid using these types of reed cases that come with shipping. These are not meant for long-term storage. They don't really protect, and they don't do anything for maintenance on your reeds. They're just meant for shipping, so don't use those. You're going to take your reed out of your case and put it in your mouth. You need to flip it around, and it needs to go all the way around. Every bit of this reed needs to be moist. I'm not going to do that right now just because I'm not going to be playing, and you need to be able to understand what I'm saying. So that's what I would be doing, but I'm not. While that's going on, what I want you to do is grab your saxophone by the bell, and then you'll notice on the back side of it there should be a little hook right here, and that's where your neck strap goes. I like the neck straps that actually have something that closes around it, because then it won't fall and break, but use what you got, I guess. Okay, you'll notice that on your saxophone you should have a little plug right here. If you don't, you might have a new saxophone that doesn't require one, but when in doubt, you usually need this plug. So I need to loosen the neck screw right here. Take that plug and just set it back in your case. The next piece you will assemble is the neck joint. And what I want you to do is to hold it close to the tenon that will attach to the instrument. Not by the cork, but by the bend here. And the reason why is because it's very easy to bend this joint, specifically on the tenor saxophone. I know because I've done it before. Be very careful. You want to hold it close to where it's going to go into the instrument so you don't damage it. So in a gentle twisting motion, back and forth a little bit, it should go in without very much resistance. You may need to loosen this screw some, but for the most part it should work pretty easily. And then the next step is to take your reed and put it on the mouthpiece. What I want you to do is to make sure your reed is well moistened before you move on to this step. And I'm going to zoom in closer so that you can see a very close-up diagram of what your reed should look like, and then we will get moving a little bit further. Okay, so I have my mouthpiece, my ligature. The screws are usually on the bottom, unless it's an inverted ligature, in which case they'll be on the back, but they usually go off to the right. I have my moistened reed, and what you can do is to make sure that it's nice and flat and all the warp is out of it, you can place it right in the middle here. Put your thumb over top of it and then just pull it out a couple of times. So here, thumb, pull it out. Here, thumb, pull it out. Do not do this, not the very tip, but you want it right in the middle. This is called the table, so put it flat on the table, thumb, and then pinch with your left thumb and just pull it out some. That will get so that it'll make the reed very flat at the tip, and it'll make it function better. Now, the ligature needs to be on the mouthpiece. These screws should be remotely loose. You want to take this end of the reed and put it underneath the ligature. Match the tip of the reed with the tip of the mouthpiece, and then look down, and they should match up on the table down here. Okay? Take your ligature, put it into place. Usually there's some little grooves right here, but if you have an emblem here, it's usually right in the middle of that window. So before it starts tapering down and before it starts tapering down, put it right in the middle there. Again, we'll check the tip and the other end of the reed and tighten just until you get a little bit of resistance. Do the same with the other screw. Little bit of resistance, maybe just a little bit more on each one. You don't want to be too tight because then the reed cannot respond the way it should. So just be enough to hold it onto the reed. Now we'll zoom back out to talk about where you should put your mouthpiece. Okay, now that we've learned how to put the reed on the mouthpiece, there's only one step left, and that is to grab the whole mouthpiece, put the ligature and everything into your hand. You should have greased this cork with just a little bit of cork grease. Mine still has some residue from the last time I played, so I'm not going to redo it. And then you just, again, twist the mouthpiece into place. Don't put it all the way on, but don't just barely put it on there either. I would start with about halfway. Later on, your teacher will discuss with you what that means and how to adjust it and what the purpose of it is. But for now, let's start at about halfway. Okay? And then we need to talk about posture, and then I will discuss hand placement really quick. So there are two ways to sit with a saxophone. You can sit with it off to your side, with alto anyway. Tenor and bari, I always say that they need to be off to the side. Either way, your nose and neck should line up. So if I'm going to sit sideways, the nose lines up with my neck piece, and the rest of the instrument just goes off to the side. So I sit down and I bring the instrument to me. The same goes for the other position, which is putting the saxophone in between. And I'll back up a little bit so you can see that a little bit better. I just make sure my nose lines up with the neck piece. And I tilt the mouthpiece whichever way I need to. Again, I'm seated. I bring the instrument to me. Okay? It depends on what your teacher wants you to do. I've done both. I still perform both ways. I don't really have a method to the madness there. I play whatever feels good to me on the day. So whatever your teacher tells you to do, go for it. But I also encourage you to experiment a little bit with it as an alto saxophone player. Tenor sax, bari sax, always on the side. Alto can be played in the middle or on the side. So now let's zoom in again and we'll talk about hand placement. Alright, so we're going to talk about hand placement on the saxophone. I do have an alto right here, but all of the hand placements are the same for all saxophones. You should have a key right here. Some of them have pearls on them, but it's just a little key that lips around. We're actually not going to focus on this one right now at all. This is for high notes only. It's a vent. We will put our first finger on this key. We're going to skip this guy. This is only for one note. Then this will be our second finger, the middle finger, our ring finger, and we're going to rest our pinky on this top spatula key. We're going to ignore these others for now. So my left hand, it's finger number 1, 2, 3, and the pinky, it doesn't have a number. So I'll put 1 here, skip this one, 2, 3, rest on the top guy here, and then when I flip the saxophone over, you'll see that this octave key right here, let's try a different angle for you. The octave key is where my thumb rests. So I rest on this little rest button thing here, and then I'm ready to push this button. These side keys right here will rest inside my palm. I have little raised helpers here. They're just to help make it a little bit more comfortable for myself so they actually fit into my palm. But most of you will not have these. It makes it easier for me to play. So thumb is here. Then when I flip the saxophone over, you should have 1, 2, 3. Remember, we skipped this guy, and the pinky is here. Okay, so that is the left hand for saxophone. The right hand down here is very straightforward. There's 3 pearls, and you have 3 fingers down here that are primary. 4, 5, 6. They each rest on here. 1 pinky rested here. On the other side, we'll have our thumb resting just like this in our thumb rest. And then these keys will eventually get played by this portion of your hand. And don't worry about these 2 right now. You might not even have both of those keys. These are alternates. This one is an alternate key, and this is for a high note, or several high notes for that matter. So your right hand should look like this. 4, 5, 6, pinky, and side key, and then the thumb. That's the right hand, left hand, and we'll flip it around for you. Okay, now we've reviewed all of the basics for playing saxophone. We've learned how to put it together, where to put our hands, and how to sit properly with our instrument. As always, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please feel free to email me at the address listed below. I wish you the best of luck, and I hope you keep practicing.